What if one of the greatest adventure stories ever written was never really about monsters? What if the Cyclops wasn't just a giant? The Sirens weren't simply dangerous singers, and the long journey back to Ithaca wasn't about returning home at all. For nearly 3,000 years, Homer's The Odyssey has been read as the epic tale of a Greek hero struggling to return home after the Trojan War. But philosophers, psychologists, writers, and spiritual thinkers have long suggested that beneath its thrilling adventures lies something much deeper, a symbolic journey of the human mind. This isn't a hidden code that historians agree Homer intentionally embedded, but a powerful way generations of readers have interpreted the story, as an inner journey of transformation. By the end of this video, you may never look at the Odyssey the same way again. Imagine surviving the greatest war of your age. You've defeated your enemies. You've won glory that people will remember forever. Yet instead of peace, your real struggle is only beginning. This is where the Odyssey begins. Composed around the 8th century BCE and traditionally attributed to Homer, the Odyssey follows Odysseus, king of Ithaca, as he attempts to return home after the Trojan War. What should have taken weeks becomes a journey lasting 10 years, filled with storms, monsters, temptations, gods, and impossible choices. On the surface, it is one of history's greatest adventure stories. But beneath the adventure lies a pattern that appears in spiritual traditions across cultures. Transformation rarely begins with victory. It begins when the familiar world falls away. Perhaps that is why the story has remained alive for nearly 3,000 years, because every generation recognizes something of itself in Odysseus. The first lesson appears almost immediately. Odysseus is brilliant, he is courageous, he is respected. Yet one mistake changes everything. After escaping the Cyclops, he cannot resist boasting. He reveals his name and mocks his defeated enemy. That single moment of pride allows the Cyclops to call upon Poseidon, who curses Odysseus's voyage. Historically, Greek literature often warned against hubris, excessive pride that places human beings above their proper limits. It was considered one of the gravest moral failings. Read symbolically, the Cyclops can represent a mind that sees only one perspective. The giant has one eye, and some modern interpreters have viewed this as a metaphor for narrow vision or unchecked ego. While this is not an interpretation preserved from ancient Greece, it illustrates why the episode continues to resonate. Sometimes the greatest obstacle is not outside us. It is the belief that we already see clearly. Then comes the island of the Lotus-Eaters. Here, no one is forced to stay. There are no chains, no prisons, only a sweet fruit that makes people forget where they came from and why they were traveling. Odysseus must physically carry his own men back to the ship. For many modern readers, this episode feels surprisingly contemporary. Distraction, comfort, endless entertainment, the temptation to forget one's purpose. The danger is not pain, it is becoming so comfortable that you stop moving altogether. The journey grows even more difficult. The Sirens promise knowledge, they promise understanding, they promise answers. Anyone who listens cannot leave. Odysseus famously orders his crew to block their ears with wax while he has himself tied to the mast so he can hear the song without steering the ship toward destruction. This is one of the most memorable scenes in world literature because it reflects a timeless truth. Wisdom is not pretending temptation does not exist. Wisdom is preparing for it before it arrives. Sometimes discipline is simply creating conditions that protect us from our own impulses. Perhaps the most terrifying challenge comes when Odysseus must sail between Scylla and Charybdis. One side is a six-headed monster, the other is a deadly whirlpool. Avoid one completely, and you are consumed by the other. There is no perfect choice, only the least destructive one. Life often presents similar moments. There are decisions where every option carries loss. The story reminds us that maturity is not waiting for a flawless path. It is choosing wisely despite uncertainty. Then something unexpected happens. Odysseus descends into the Underworld. In ancient Greek belief, this is the realm of the dead. There he meets fallen companions, legendary figures, and the spirit of the prophet Tiresias, who offers guidance for the journey ahead. Across many mythic traditions, journeys into the underworld symbolize confrontation with mortality, memory, and the deepest parts of oneself. Scholars have long noted that this pattern appears in stories from many cultures. The hero does not emerge unchanged. He returns with greater understanding. Sometimes awakening begins only after we face what we spend our lives avoiding. Finally, after 20 years away, Odysseus reaches Ithaca. But even then, he does not immediately reclaim his throne. He arrives disguised as a beggar. No one recognizes him. His final test is not defeating monsters. It is remaining patient, observing carefully, and acting at the right moment. This ending offers one of the story's most profound insights. The man who left Ithaca is not the man who returns. The destination has not changed. He has. This idea has inspired thinkers for centuries. Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung viewed myths as expressions of universal psychological patterns that continue to shape human experience. Joseph Campbell later described the hero's journey, showing how stories from many cultures follow a similar arc of departure, trial, transformation, and return. Whether Homer consciously intended every symbolic interpretation is something historians continue to debate. But the enduring power of the Odyssey suggests that great stories often speak on more than one level. They entertain, they preserve history, and they invite reflection. Perhaps that is why the Odyssey has never disappeared. Every generation finds new meaning within it. Some see an adventure. Some see political history. Some see the origins of Western literature. Others see a mirror, a reminder that every human being must leave the familiar, confront pride, resist distraction, endure uncertainty, face inner darkness, and eventually return, not merely to a place, but to a wiser understanding of who they have become. Maybe Ithaca was never just an island. Maybe it represents the self we spend a lifetime rediscovering. And perhaps the monsters along the way were never only creatures of myth. Perhaps they are the fears, desires, distraction, and illusions that every person encounters on the journey through life. That possibility may be the real reason the Odyssey continues to captivate readers nearly 3,000 years after it was first sung around ancient Greek fires. Because in the end, the greatest journey was never across the sea. It was within,